His surname is widely known among book lovers, though he had no relation to fiction. He, as well as the godfather of his children, spent several years in sailing expeditions, each in their own one, which allowed them to prove that Linnaeus, who had created his system of naming organisms about a century before that, gave an image of a very fixed life, while nature, for better or worse, was changing. The journey starts in the year 1838 in Ealing, a village to the west from London. With the railway station just opened here, the local economy receives a huge boost, and a rural village starts its way to become the queen of the suburbs. Here we meet a 13-year-old boy, who now moves to London as an apprentice to Thomas Chandler, a medical practitioner who experiments with mesmerism. It would probably be better to finish education before taking up medical activity, but this door closed 3 years ago when the boy's father lost his job as a math teacher at Great Ealing School. The school was considered the best private school in England, but closed probably due to the need of the building restoration. Thus, the boy was restrained from formal schooling after 2 years of such education. Lucky to be born to an intelligent middle-class family, he could get some books to meet his curiosity about the world, though the reading materials he reached and went through were far from the elementary school program he had to stop at. Hence he read a study of the laws of formal thought or logic. He read books on geology, recently established as a separate science, and some other works by Thomas Carlyle. Now his elder sister's husband found an opportunity for the guy to become an apprentice, and with no real other things to do, he joined Thomas Chandler for 3 years. His patients were poor people and paupers in the south of London. When he was 16, his elder sister's husband helped the teenager enter a cut-price anatomy school associated with the University College Hospital, started 7 years earlier. During this time, the teenager was still reading a lot, and at some point he switched from the English language literature to that in German, and also taught himself Latin and Greek, enough to comprehend scientific terminology and read Aristotle. No surprise, he demonstrated excellent results in studies, and in a year was admitted to Charing Cross Hospital with a scholarship. He won several academic medals, while the aim was not to take material in cram, but to find an answer to a simple question: how are living processes organized? Under supervision of an ophthalmologist and physiologist, the young scientist discovered one more layer of cells in a human hair and published a corresponding scientific article about it. He could easily obtain a degree from the University of London at his 20, but he knew he would not obtain a license for further surgical practice as he was too young, and together with that he still needed to pay back the debts. To solve the issue, he skipped the final exams and applied to the Royal Navy. After tests and interviews with the Physician General of the Navy, he was appointed as an assistant surgeon and could get prepared for the voyage. A captain, a surgeon, another botanist and an artist, among other sailors, set off from Plymouth on December 3rd in 1846. The fact that the ship was going to Australia and New Guinea was a real gift to Thomas as a scientist. It was his chance to observe a literally new world of nature. Since he didn't have strict everyday tasks as a surgeon mate, a lot of his time Thomas dedicated to marine nature. Thus, apart from making notes about birds' population and diversity of plants, he was studying sea anemones, sea squirts, hydras, jellyfish, and sea nettles. He managed to send some of the discoveries to England, where a fellow naturalist helped to publish the papers. The sailing was going on for 4 years, and during this time the crew managed to explore the Great Barrier Reef and the surrounding islands, establish contact with the local people of New Guinea and Australia, and make notes on their life and culture, and to rescue a Scottish woman who once survived a shipwreck and for the following 5 years was perceived by the locals on the Prince of Wales Island as a returned spirit of the clan leader's daughter. When in 4 years the 25-year-old young man came back to England, the academic community was already amazed by the scientific results of the voyage, and already the next year Thomas was elected a Fellow of the Royal Society. Interestingly, among the other 11 newly elected members there was Robert Fitzroy, a scientist who was also the captain of the ship who 20 years before that, when looking for a suitable candidate to become his companion in an upcoming expedition, approved Charles Darwin, then a 22-year-old graduate. Another 5 years later, the two scientists met in person in Darwin's house. Darwin would discover Thomas being fluent in German and would ask to translate some works for his further research, while Thomas would push Charles to publish his ideas on natural selection. Even though Thomas used to have some doubts about the theory, he found another scientist, Alfred Russel Wallace, expressing similar ideas and became sure it was worth taking it seriously. Charles and Thomas made a perfect match as scientists as well as friends, so the Darwins even became godparents to 2 of the Thomas's children. Meanwhile, Thomas, a tall man with a low voice who desperately defended Darwin's theory of evolution and was not afraid of provocative questions, started to call himself Darwin's Bulldog. The nickname stuck, and that's still one of the first things associated with his name nowadays. Though let's remember that his contribution to science was way more significant than just assistance to Charles Darwin. While coining a term to explain his own attitude to God, agnostic, he tried to make clear that science and religion should be treated separately, though are not necessarily mutually excluding, and humans are not necessarily the culmination of creation. He believed that man's ancestors are apes, while birds evolved from small dinosaurs. As an educator, he offered lectures for workers and schoolmasters, while having discussions with Joseph Dalton Hooker, John Tyndall, and Michael Faraday. Meanwhile, nobody could tell at those times that apart from being a scientist and an educator, Thomas Henry Huxley would become a grandfather of the author of The Brave New World, one of the most famous dystopian novels. Aldous Huxley has just turned a year when his grandpa, the Fellow of the Royal Society Thomas Henry Huxley, breathed his last.